What do you think how do you think the House is going to try to frame this discussion? What is this about?
Well, I think there's probably a couple different angles. The first is how is our financial future going to be different? How is this technology changing all of our lives? Why is it important? How is it able to create access in different products? Also, it's going to be about the dollar and how the dollar is changing, and the type of product that the dollar represents is shifting. How people use it, what their daily lives look like, why it's important in order for the U.S. to maintain its financial primacy, in order to be able to adapt to the changing world. So I think those are going to be a lot of the key themes here. I think everyone in the industry wants clarity, certainty, and consistency in terms of a regulatory parameter and a perimeter in order to operate. And I think that will really help make the industry be able to operate in a way that everyone understands from the financial services industry today. And so these are some big topics. There's a lot to talk about. I think we'll get through a lot of those, but it's an ongoing conversation. The Presidential Working Group paper was an example of exactly this type of conversation unfolding in the public domain.
Yeah, you sound like it might be more of an opportunity than, say, being defensive that the hammer is going to come down.
I personally think it is. Well, certainly in the case of Paxos, we've always embraced regulation. I think we're probably the most regulated company in the entire space because we've taken a ask for permission approach from the very beginning. And we did that because we felt like this technology could fundamentally shift how the financial system works, create societal-wide outcomes. And in order for that to happen, you need regulation. It gives a stamp of approval. It also creates a real sense of consistency. And so I think that it's important for there to be regulation. And what we really want is consistency, clarity, certainty. How can you operate? What are the rules of the road? And I think that's a lot of what we'll be able to flesh out in this conversation next week.
Chad, what types of regulation do you think need to be prioritized here? To your point, there are a broad set of issues. Congress is getting up to speed on this. What would you urge them to tackle first?
Well, there's a couple different components. The first is, in the crypto markets, there are assets, there are securities, and there's kind of some gray areas. Really getting into understanding where is that gray area going to fall out. And today we don't really know. We know Bitcoin is an asset and it's safe. And then after that, it starts to get a little bit more murky. And having some consistency would really help, I think, the industry in significant ways, because it would make clear what are the type of regulatory approvals that would be needed or might not be needed. And there's also, I think, an important conversation today around how do you tokenize dollars and have that be safe? How can you have it fit in either existing regulatory frameworks or some new ones? The Presidential Working Group paper talked about this. And we've taken a tact where all of our dollars are basically cash and equivalents. They're held in U.S. Treasuries and T-bills, very short-term maturities. So there's no interest rate risk, no credit risk. Makes it very safe, and it's highly regulated. There have been other ways of doing tokenized dollars, and they might create more risks and more uncertainty. Having those types of conversations and really helping to make it clear to members of the committee what our different business models are and how getting them right, getting the regulation right, getting the business models right, can really be a very, very important force for change and very important for the U.S. to maintain its primacy. Because really what's happening is our financial lives are totally shifting. They look totally different, I think, in 5 years than they do now. How can we make sure that we have a financial system that represents that? It's kind of implausible now that our financial lives look so much different than the way people are living their lives in a really digital first way.